Hey folks, how's it going? My name is Erin Dawson. I'm the communications manager on the DevRel team, developer relations team at Oracle, and today I'm speaking with my colleague, Paul Parkinson. How's it going, Paul?
It's going great. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Gr- yeah, totally. So I just moved into a new space and it looks very sparse and spare in here and not very polished. But what is polished, segue, are the three demos that you'll be facilitating at Oracle CloudWorld this September 18th from through the 21st, and that's in Las Vegas, Nevada. So I just want to talk to you about each of these very quickly, sort of as a teaser for CloudWorld. And I thought that we could start with your birds of a feather talk. First off, what is that format? I hadn't heard of it like right before we started talking, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a great idea. Could you tell folks what this format is about?
Yeah, and it is a great format. So it's I think it originated in Java 1. I know it occurred in Java 1 because I was going to these back then. And
Mhm.
it's really cool because it's very interactive. So generally the person running it just talks for maybe 5, 10 minutes and just it's a discussion from then on. So it's always nice to have a discussion anyway, but that's exactly what this format is for. And so everyone, all the birds of a feather, talk about their war stories and
Mhm.
troubles and things. So yeah, it's a great format, especially for this topic, for the DevOps topic.
Yeah. So if you can say a couple words about that, specifically the title of your talk, looking at my list, is DevOps observability, multisyllabic they call it, CI/CD, understanding use cases and the Oracle DB operator. What are you talking about with this birds of a feather talk?
Right. And so that's we, you know, kick it off with that topic because consistently, throughout the industry and these type of conferences, this is a very popular topic every
Mm.
year, because it's a tricky one. Is DevOps in general and getting CI/CD down correctly, especially with microservices and things like that. And so that's where we focus quite a bit. Obviously taking the feedback, we focus on that, and that's where, like I say, with these war stories and things like that, each year people come and say, "I'm doing this, and I need this, and I'm doing this," and a lot of people are taking a lot of different approaches, to that area. So we, like I say, we focused on that. One of the things that's a focus is the release of the database operator.
Mm.
And so these Kubernetes operators are kind of what they sound like. They take all the administration off of the user. They become the operator in the Kubernetes environment in particular, their Kubernetes concept. And so it does all the database lifecycle for all the different database types. And so that's, just so convenient for your, as you can imagine, for your CI/CD. You're revving up your dev or QA databases, and can automate that in your pipeline. So that's great. And then that leads into all these other aspects as far as observability,
Mm.
which is another area we've focused on. And it's really, I have to say, this I've been going to and presenting at Oracle World and Cloud World, and our section at Cloud World is specifically called Database World, for over 20 years now. And I do think this is going to be the coolest one yet, because this is kind of the year where, we all these new concepts are coming in the past years, but we've really started to bring some robust offerings. So it's really cool, this stuff. So much stuff to talk about. But so that the operator is one of them. The other is this aspect of observability, where, like I say, especially with microservices,
Mm.
the observability is kind of, the pieces of the application are all over the place because it's microservices. And so this observability is always so important to know what's going on, because one of the strengths of the monolith is, okay, that's the monolith, I'm monitoring that. So we get all the benefits with microservices, but we have this observability problem. And so one of the problems is the fact that observability across the microservices, across tiers. So it's always the classic example out there where you have some consoles and you're looking at your app, And then there's a big, you're tracing your app through these, you're getting your metrics, and then there's a big node on the right that's the database. And that's like, okay, let me grab my IDs and then hop over to the database console, whatever that may be. And so what we've been doing over the last few years is making that a unified experience where you can, metrics, logs, and tracing through the different tiers. And developers love that. And so that's one thing we'll be talking about at this session, because it makes your life easier. You know what I mean? You want the fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's part of it too, right?
That's going to be a
Yeah,
lot to squeeze in such a brief amount of time. But
it is. Yeah. And especially, and that's, I'll talk 5 minutes and then open it up and then exactly.
Bullet points are going to be your friend. It's funny, like birds of a feather, lightning talks. This is such an evocative, all these different formats. Moving on to the other two, which I understand are sort of bound by, or there is a through line between them, and that is 3D in the real, digital, and immersive world. Starting with the Demo Grounds experience exhibit,
right?
The 3D spatial, in the digital and physical world. I'm reading the subtitle. Go off on that. What are developers going to get out of this session?
Yeah, so the 3D and spatial aspects in general it's interesting, of course, AI is everywhere, and AI is kind of plays into just every single aspect. But the 3D and spatial aspects of data has been growing just as rapidly. And again, they're not like competing or anything like that. They work in concert. But the ability to analyze information in 3D and to observe it in 3D. So what we do on the demo grounds is something fun. You can come over and there's a nice 3D scanner, and you'll get scanned. And what you get back is are two things. One is an actual printout of yourself, a 3D printout of yourself. And the other is a full digital representation of yourself to take home. And these, this is very cool because especially both parts are cool, but the digital representation is pretty amazing, especially now with some of the stuff you can do with AI and things like that. So, you make your auto rigging, so you immediately can auto rig your avatar, your representation. There's these metahuman technologies and things like that where you can speak and it's, you are being represented. Wow. And then it's just, if you go ahead and just view yourself in 3D, it's a pretty amazing experience. It may be humbling, right, but it's amazing no matter, right? But it may be, but it's amazing. And if you, view it through something like an XR, anyone who has done this, many people have, a very actually emotional reaction to this, you can imagine, and you're able to preserve this, whereas there's no denying that everyone takes a lot of pictures, right? And you look at pictures and you get memories. Now, if this is now in a 3D representation, it's pretty amazing. And so that's a very cool thing to take home with you, but it also, is related to some of the capabilities of spatial in the database. And it's very fitting for the new spatial features in 23C, because spatial's been in the database for a while and it's so powerful. You can see a lot of workshops and examples of this, especially with geospatial and things like that. But one of the examples I show with this demonstration are a couple new features. There are a number of new features in spatial. It's just the hundreds of features in the database, just crazy, our 23 release. But in spatial, a couple of the features that they have are these different point cloud operations. And so one of them is doing diffs of point clouds. And so what I show in the demonstration is a scan, like I say, taking a scan of a hand. And then I put the scan into Blender, into a 3D modeling tool, and add a ring to it. And then feed those two, the hand with and the hand without the ring, into the Oracle database, and it can tell you what part of the 3D is the delta. and showing the next screen. So you can imagine the potential there. And then it takes that, and you can create from that point cloud a mesh. So I'm feeding in these obj files, which is the I'm fascinated by all this. You can tell, even I like
I love
file
it.
formats. I'm fascinated in.
Yeah.
So this obj file has been around since the '80s, but it's
Okay.
this is a proven file format. Yeah, it's probably the most popular one for 3D models.
Okay.
So I'm feeding these two obj files in. The database is taking the point clouds, comparing them, getting the delta, which is the ring, of course. And then you can export. The database in 23 has this ability to now create the mesh, so you can export the point cloud as an obj file and then bring it back into your 3D modeling tool. So you can see just crazy number of potentials. Yeah,
That's so
it's awesome.
powerful. That's
Yeah,
so cool.
yeah, exactly. So
What a souvenir to leave CloudWorld with.
right. That's a
That
souvenir, exactly. You'll give your grandkids basically, right? It's
totally,
yeah,
totally. There's so much value in that. I hate to
yeah,
move because I want to keep talking about
yeah.
the
I
spatial
knew
stuff.
once I got started.
No,
I'd have
it's
trouble.
totally cool. And then let's just round it out talking about your third and maybe final session. I don't know where it falls in the sequence of CloudWorld, but this session is called Develop Virtual and Augmented Reality Using AI and Oracle Services. What are developers in for there?
Yeah, exactly. So you had that demo ground, we had the physical, you get the printout, the digital, all this stuff you can do in its digital format. And so the XR session is a lot about making that data immersive, or using that immersive data. And so the XR space, I don't know how to sum that up. And especially if you know me, I just think it's a foregone conclusion that that's the new, instead of the phones, we're going to have glasses on. I kind of always say that as far as the spectrum is, at the very least, it's going to replace what phones do today. You
Right.
know what I mean? Because instead of going like this, you're just going to look through your glasses.
Yeah.
But it opens up so many more use cases. And so basically in the presentation, we go through all the different verticals where it's used with Oracle technology, and then all the the actual tech that's used with it. So Oracle Tech is perfect for facilitating XR. So first of all, it's the content is king, and data is really the content for a lot of these use cases for
Mm-hmm.
XR, for beyond XR, but especially for XR. So a lot of the things you can do with spatial and database, all the AI products and functionality we have at Oracle plays into XR very well. So the latest thing, and again, I have about 1,000 examples in the presentation, just flipping through. But one of the latest ones is just in health sector. You're looking at, and there's a whole workshop on this, on AI for good and XR with AI using Oracle Tech. And I have a blog series and all that. I'll just plug that real quick.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the examples is, you're wearing glasses, and the glasses look more and more like sunglasses, and you can see the real world. And you hold up a medical report, and even it's also for vision and hearing impaired, but in this particular case, you hold up the medical report, you don't understand, and you just say, explain this. And it comes back, it sends it out to Vision AI, reads the doc, does all the translation, things like that, then sends it off to models with Cohere, and gives you back, this is in layman's terms what this medical report means. And it's showing your blood sugar's too high and you should exercise more, gives you advice. So, that's just one of a million examples, but
Wow.
yeah. So
What
super
aren't
exciting
you
session.
talking
There's a
about at
lot in it.
CloudWorld?
Yeah, right.
Gosh.
Yeah, and there's so many, the transaction features and the open source features. I mean, it's going to be an awesome conference. Really cool.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I think you're right that it's a foregone conclusion. I think CloudWorld 2026 is going to just be Blade Runner. It's just going to be.
Right.
I don't,
Yeah, that's right.
Paul, thanks for hanging out with me and being so articulate and passionate about this stuff. I love that energy so much. Hopefully, folks out there, you do too. If you want to see Paul at CloudWorld this September in Las Vegas, check out the registration link down below. I always feel like a real YouTuber saying that, but it is true. It is probably below where my face is currently. Anyways, the registration link will be there. Paul will be there too. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.